Hello. I'll shut off the heat here. It's cold as hell. I'm quite certain hell is cold. Anyway, so this is take 2 on Year Woo. One of my settings on my soundboard was tweaked way over, and I didn't notice till afterwards. The sound was too bad to deal with. But also the presentation I did wasn't satisfactory in terms of sketching it out anyway. The idea for this video is to discuss what's going to happen this year relative to the major themes that we originally picked out in the data sets that went from 2015 onward. I had the remnants of those data sets stripped off of digital audio tape, which is also digital backup tape, and put on modern media and shipped here. So it's all, hang on a second, just checking sound. So anyway, so I have the data sets here from some very good prescient data sets at the time the work was done. Anyway, we needed to examine some major themes and how they're going to spread out over the whole of the year here. So we've got sort of a crude little calendar at the bottom for a timeline. And then we've started off with desperation. You can't really read my writing. It's bad anyway under the best of circumstances with these large Sharpie things. But also, we've got to kind of scrunch it in here. But we've got desperation, currency, social engineering, and secrets revealed. There's a lot more, but we'll just start with these here. The desperation is composed of okay, the reason that these descriptors are pertinent is because they were the defining aspects of large data sets. So there was a large data set that appeared to be a prompter for all kinds of activity in Year Woo, in the first year of sci-fi world, and that was desperation. And desperation ran from the very top, the powers that be, all the way down through the lower echelons of society, increasing as you go down, one would think. However, there's a lot of desperation on the part of the powers that be. They're at a great deal of risk at the moment, and they're aware of it. They don't like it. It's starting to affect their decision making, and they're starting to make mistakes and screw up a lot. So desperation is going to be with us for some time. But the desperation, of course, at the top is different from that at the bottom of the socioeconomic strata of society. So as you increasingly go down, so to speak, and you're not in a power elite, the desperation centers more on currency and how you're going to get by, because we all know that the whole world is shaky at the moment economically. And we all have that feeling that, you know, the debt is long in the tooth, the dollar is long in the tooth, and all this stuff's going to crash and go away. And it's a generalized, end of civilization kind of sensation that lots of people have. And so we will continue to have currency woes for some time. These will extend out into Year 2, as will desperation. In fact, for the powers that be, desperation grows as we get into Year 2. This has to do with their having set up some social engineering projects that will go bad for them. And those social engineering projects will have a blowback, but they're also going to be instructive to the population. So, in other words, the powers that be up here on their desperation track fear global revolt. And they risked triggering it. I don't see why they did the activity they did with that Great Reset stuff, but they risked triggering it, global revolt, just by basically announcing that we're all under their control and they're going to reset the whole world. Well, that makes everybody that's not power elite suddenly wise up and get wise and understand their role in relationship to the rest of the planet. And so the powers that be are going to have a desperation thread that keeps going and going and going. The desperation thread for the populace, global, is going to also continue for a long time, but it's going to go in cycles as each of the nations go through these various cycles of hyperinflation, currency collapse, and so on. So the populist desperation is intimately tied to currency, and will be affected by hyperinflation and failed global system replacements. It's probably no secret, but I don't think very much of Charlie Ward and all these Nassara Gassara pushers, right? It's an impossibility that such a thing can exist because of the nature of economics and how economics work. We cannot all be bazillionaires. It's just that way. It's an aspect of karma, but it's also an aspect of the mathematics of economics. Scarcity does rule. That's what's driving Bitcoin in December over 100,000 US dollars. The fact that the US dollars are not scarce, so you get 100,000 of them for one Bitcoin because the Bitcoin is scarce. And that's just the way it works. So Charlie Ward and these guys are part of this. Right now, they're pimping what will become a generalized failed global system replacement. Now, the powers that be have already failed with number one, which was the Great Reset, which they were going to strip away everything we own and rent it back to us. And we'd be happy. They're going to give us happy something, so we'd be happy to rent it back. So our desperation as populace is going to be significantly influenced by this, right? But the reason it's down here and not on top, the reason global currency is not on top, is the powers that be, to them, currency is just a tool. They're not desperate about that. They're desperate about the intangible aspects of the power structure itself. Because the Great Awakening is here, there's been many, many, many unforeseen consequences and repercussions to their actions within the social engineering. In the social engineering here, we can include Antifa and BLM. Those were both engineered by Soros and the CCP. And this, of course, this is a confluence of stuff for critical race theory, all that racist hogwash crap that they keep regurgitating, right? Their whole narrative. Basically, we're discussing these as descriptors for larger narratives. And so you'll see a lot of stuff in there. So the social engineering that the powers that be had put out on everybody for all these last few years is starting to fade. There's been a number of things they didn't anticipate that you cannot run. In 1918, for instance, we had a pandemic that ran from 1918 through to 1922. So we were basically dealing with it for 3 years. For 2 years, the population wore masks in the United States, some places, that kind of thing, right? It wasn't like it is today. But nonetheless, it was a 3-year process. The reason it lasted that long was the slowness of the media. So we're basically just over the edge of a single year of it, and everybody's freaking out. They're burning down the COVID testing centers in Holland. The Italian population did just a great thing and revolted to go to the local eatery and have some pasta and some Chianti, and that I think is worth revolting for, right? In my way of thinking, it's very. I don't like doing the destruction. I would rather make my point and have a good meal, and a good glass of Chianti Classico. So that's a good way to have a revolt in my way. But there it is. It's all over. It's starting to break out everywhere. The powers that be control structure, which is part of the thing that we're all revolting over, the control structure, is visible now. We see that visible in the politics that have been exposed. And so this is all getting into our secrets revealed here. And so the powers that be are also very desperate that their social engineering keep going. And it's not. It's breaking down. We got BLM and Antifa slugging it out in the streets of Oregon, yelling racist insults and slurs at each other. I kid you not, right? We got all different kinds of weird-ass responses from the populace all around various different power groups, if you will. So the politics is clearly exposed. We've got the hollowness, just draw that as an empty circle, the hollowness of the Biden administration. Okay, so just to step through it real quick, he wasn't allowed on military aircraft. The soldiers are still in Washington, D.C. No, I don't think they turned their back on him, but that's neither here nor there. They don't usually work that way. The military is not that blatant, unless you're really fucked up. Anyway, so, but he wasn't allowed on a military aircraft. As far as I know, he's not in the White House, because all of those executive orders and everything he's signing are on movie sets that do not replicate the Oval Office. The wallpaper is wrong, the trim is wrong, the colors are wrong, the trim dimensions are wrong, the window pane dimensions are wrong. The windows are not bulletproof glass, they're not backed by polycarbonate, they're able to be opened, they're single pane house windows, they don't even look like they're triple pane or double insulated. Their proportions are all wrong, everything is all wrong with that set. And yet, obviously, these people don't care. So they're so hollow, they think that we'll just swallow it, or it's not worth their effort, right? And so the global politics up here, their control structure is now eroding because of the visibility of all of this stuff as secrets become revealed. And we've had a number of secrets revealed in this early part of January. We've had the secret of Q revealed. We've had that it didn't work. It wasn't as told for whatever reasons. That's immaterial. We've had the secret of the hollow inauguration revealed, where they joined videos. It was all really, really strange. We've had rumors come out that Harris hasn't been allowed into the BP residence. All different kinds of stuff, right? And we've had the secret of the the Major General saying that peaceful transition to military rule. All of these kind of things. So there have been a number. We've had a big spike here in January in the secrets revealed, and that's going to continue on. There's going to be another big spike of secrets revealed as we get from June through September and beyond. I have to say it this way because it's episodic. So we have the known trigger from the first part of June, which is right there. We have the known trigger of that 180-day rider tacked onto the COVID stuff, where they're going to tell the Congress about UFO guys and all of the stuff we've got on UFOs and so on. They're supposed to report about it. Okay, so that's going to start in June, and that is an official secrets revealed. And as part of that, though, we're also going to have much more of the sci-fi secrets revealed come on out, but I actually think that that'll be appearing closer to the end of August. And that part of the secrets revealed here is driven by desperation, and desperation at several levels. So the language in the data set suggests that the powers that be are desperate, but they don't really want to reveal anything about UFOs. However, the political administration, the people that manage things, are desperate by the time we get into this period of time in August because of the economic situation. And they need to provide basically the language would say that the humanity needs to have a path to the future provided. In other words, here we're all living from January through to August in Biden's dark winter, right? Because they don't have a plan for the future. They're all about shit behind us, right? Trying to alter the past, all of that kind of thing. Look at everything they do. It's all about some past thing. They don't have any vision forward. They have nothing to offer humanity whatsoever. And by the time we get into August, the data sets would have us understand this in a very clear way, because the desperation levels that are going to affect the powers that be include the grumbling, so to speak, of the population. And as our grumbles grow, their worries over global revolt grow. And this is why, and then they're also going to have their um, great reset basically shoved up their ass by the populace. We just won't have it. In fact, it'll be more than a laughing stock. So something that we all actively make jokes about. So their control structure is really threatened, and it becomes really threatened from the point we start getting into the major secrets revealed period of sci-fi world, because this secrets revealed is going to include real history, not from the UFO things, but from the data sets, right? That UFO official secrets revealed, tell us about what you know, is just a gift from universe to point that, yeah, you're on the right track here. It's going to happen. It's going to roll out that way. We're giving you some official notice of a timeline that goes to June. Okay. Now, my data had always pegged it is really picking up in midsummer. The way the data works, though, that kind of stuff slopes up, and then, it's not a straight line. It's not a rapid acquisition and so on. But this is going to include the real history of the planet that goes back to Antarctica, which the powers that be don't want us to know. They don't want us to know about this. So they're not happy about this, but our local politician guys who are living down here with us are going to be so freaked out by June that they're going to be very malleable, and or they're going to be on our side. Okay, so I'm just going along with the flow of the hollow narrative at the moment, presuming it'll persist. Let's not read much into it. I'm just saying that by these timelines, we'll be starting to get into this real history that will point into Antarctica. I actually pegged it in August that this stuff would break out. Of course, it's going to include UFOs and tech and that kind of thing. But they're not going to be plopping a free energy device in your backyard and plugging your house into it. You're not going to get a medical bed that will cure all of your problems and grow your dick to 15 inches. It just is not going to happen. Those med beds, the free energy and stuff may be in our future. But we don't know because we haven't invented it yet. All we're being presented with here is universe saying there will be a path to a new future being presented in this period of time. But it's not, and that would be stupid. It'd be hellacious to be gifted all this shit from space aliens, and then we'd be like a cargo cult in the World War II, right? We'd be living off of the stuff that they hand down, and our society would degrade anyway. If we don't do it ourselves, people, it has no value. Something given to you has no value. You must earn it. You must add value to universe in order to extract a reward. Anything given to you is not a reward, as you will learn as we go forward. So yes, we have many other data sets here to deal with. The social engineering is going to include SARS-CoV-3, which is a thing. It's going to include famine. Now bear in mind, planet Earth grows far more food than all humans could ever consume, and all life could ever consume this way. We grow in excess, and it rots on the planet. Our issues with famine are not food production, it's food distribution. Bear that in mind. That may mean that in order for you to get your production and secure it, it's got to be local so that you eliminate the distribution aspect. See? So you need to think about these things. SARS-3 is a real thing. I suspect that there were at least 3 variants of COVID that were released at the same time. And SARS-3 is a real thing. It has 4 amino acids different from SARS-2 by repute. I personally think that the reason we're dealing with this, the reason we're dealing with COVID is because the CCP has internal power issues and someone wanted to take down Xi Jinping, and this was an easy way to do it by destabilizing the country, and all of the rest of us are just collateral action or collateral damage. Now, that is not the opinion that's held by most of the militaries. Okay, most of the militaries of the world are under the impression that it was a bioweapon. It is a bioweapon. It was escaped They don't think it was deliberately released, okay? There are some that do, but nonetheless, everybody in the military globally that's not within the CCP is starting to coalesce around the idea that all these that we've been attacked by the CCP. Not the Chinese people, be clear, but by the Chinese Communist Party has attacked the planet. Wittingly, willingly, or not is immaterial at this stage. They need to go. We've all suffered enough from this. And so that's going to be one of the big threads moving forward into the future here is that the CCP needs to go for all of the reasons, for killing the Uyghurs, all of this kind of shit. They're just not good humans, and we need to cultivate good humans. So all of the good humans are going to start banding together and say, we've had enough, and there's more of us than any other subclass of humans, and so you all will listen to what we say. And we're not mean, we're not evil, we're not going to impose shit. We're going to clean up. And once things are cleaned up, we're going to probably keep it cleaned up for a while. But we'll have help. We'll have new information, we'll be able to spark people's minds, be able to get all of these people out of this weird critical race theory, social engineering. The universe is doomed, the planet is doomed, we're all dying from too much carbon dioxide, and all this other horseshit, right? That's all social engineering. And it's all breaking down, and I won't go into the reasons, but primarily due to the internet and the fact that you can only pump that shit so long before it grinds out the gears, and the people just don't accept it anymore. Those that do, they are mentally numb, dead, they're just not going to participate, they're not going to be big emotional boosters of your narrative and paradigm, and so once they start falling off, or if they don't fall off, they just become dead weight. You have to continue to drag them along, and there's no net gain for boosting your paradigm, right? So it's good. It's really interesting. It's very, very interesting. We'll see how long many of these social engineering memes last, but I suspect lots of them will be dropping off very rapidly as we get into the major events in this part of the calendar. These major events are going to include another big emotional spike at the end of this month that's going to last from the 28th through to the 30th, probably midday on the 30th. And it's going to be primarily USA focused, but it spills over into other areas. And it's also going to be the populace. Let's just put it that way. It's going to be the populace. It's not really politics per se, but it's going to be a question of what will the populace allow? What will we tolerate? What will we accept? What do we think about something that's going to be presented just ahead of that? So this is how the populace reacts to whatever the fuck, right? And so there's that. We've got another one over here on March 4th. Got another spike coming on up. There's another one in February. February 1 is not the same, and it doesn't involve the populace in the same way, but the March 4th one does. So that's another populist point. Not necessarily a populist reaction, I can't tell at this stage. The secrets revealed are going to pop out at us a lot faster. And then once they start coming out, because of the nature of it, it's kind of like the magician where he pulls a handkerchief out of his sleeve and there's another one attached and another one attached and it just keeps going and going and going. That's the way secrets are. One secret's always tied to another, to another, to another. You pull one, you get all of these others. That's what has got the Hollow Party people very, very, very freaked out. Because they are nothing but secrets and they're all hollow and all their secrets are tied together, and once you unravel them all, they'll be totally exposed and there's nothing there. They don't have a vision for the future. They only focus on the past. They are using the same kind of tactics here as the weaponized empathy and so forth, and it doesn't last. It doesn't even last a generation. That won't last 20 years. Bullshit. It'll probably only last another 18 months maximum on the trailing edge of the population. The leading edge of that population is already falling away. Look at all of the stories of I walked away, Democrat to deplorable in 18 months, that kind of thing, right? All of these books and people with their stories about it. And they are not alone. They're just the leading edge of people that are just burnt out, having their empathy redirected to bogus stories because there's no there, there's no net result, and so on. It doesn't, it's not a good reality supporting narrative. And without that, people don't really get behind it. It'll only last so long, and we're at that period of so long. A lot of those things are going to happen in year woo. A lot of that crap's going to fall off. Most, or not most of it, but much of it will do so from June on as a result of the real history, the UFOs, the secrets revealed, and so on. Now, this may indeed be as a result of people rushing into facilities in Maryland and Delaware, Maryland and or Delaware, or Maryland, Delaware, and finding secrets that they then reveal. Same thing with the Vatican. Or, as I say, it could be some other alternative where somebody already in possession of those secrets makes them known. You know, we may find that people are on the side of revealing this sort of stuff. That's really it. I included a bunch of other stuff in the previous version of this, but the sound was so bad I just couldn't stand it myself, and I couldn't put it out there for people. So this is a redo of it. But basically, this is a lot cleaner presentation because the delineations are a little bit more revealing themselves. So secrets revealed is a descriptor for a large amount of energy and goes on for years and years and years. I don't know. The data sets would have it go on at least 18 years once it's initiated. And that we'll be fighting about that stuff, arguing about that stuff that's revealed, arguing about the interpretations of the history, all of this kind of stuff, long after the revelations of this material. So it just goes on and on and on, and we're into it now. It began back here officially with that COVID bill that had that sneaky writer for the UFO stuff in there. That was just a gift from Universe to say, yeah, you're going to get it. It's going to happen this year. You're in year 0 and we'll go into year woo, and there you go. And so I know a lot, or the data sets have forecast a lot of stuff. I can't say I know, but I know what's in the data sets because I've had them mailed to me. I don't know if I mentioned that here. I had them taken off of digital audio tape and put on more modern media and mailed to me, and I've been messing about with them. But I've got a lot of aspect and attribute subsets that describe the secrets revealed and what we're going to get into. I personally, as much as I want my floating RV, and it'll be necessary for me to have that to get at the other stuff, I'm really more intrigued by real human history coming out of Antarctica than any other aspect of this. Mars, yeah, that's cool. Let's go to the moon and have some lunch and, you know, try some lunar wine or something. Sure, that's fine. But Antarctica and real human history, you know, how many millions of years old are we? How many forms of humanity have there been in the past? What did they accomplish? All of this kind of stuff is apparently being forecast as waiting for us in Antarctica, or at least the jumping off point, because the data sets would have us go to Antarctica, find a bunch of stuff, and then like, what's that show? National Treasure, like that movie National Treasure, it will be a clue. Okay, well, we'll find tons of stuff in Antarctica. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we'll find enough stuff there to fight for 120 years about what we found. And it'll take us decades and decades and decades just to catalog it. But another aspect of that is that we will find in Antarctica clues to go and look on other places around Earth, non-obvious places. So anyway, here we are. This is the basic presentation I laid out this morning with the bad sound. Hopefully the sound is good. I'll check it before I even think about uploading it. Starting to get paranoid. This will be our next big period of time here. And let us note that the hollow people are indeed hollow. If you want to go and valid prove me wrong, show me a photo that shows Biden actually sitting in the Oval Office, that I can match it against a picture of Trump sitting in the Oval Office, or anybody sitting in the Oval Office. I know the wallpaper changes and that kind of stuff, but they don't reformat the size of the window panes and convert them to single pane windows in a day. They don't do shit like that. So it's hollow all the way through, and the question is, how long will it last? Will it erode or will it pop? I think it'll probably pop. Something will come out and it'll just all go. because there's just nothing to substantiate it, nothing to hold it up. They've got other problems, the powers that be relative to that in the US, because so many people now recognize the power of their vote. Yes, they stole the vote, but it also points out that they were afraid. The government fears us, the hollow people fear the people. And the vote was massively for Trump. Ergo, it's not the old world anymore where the left is saying, we dominate all the social media, we dominate all the social discourse, all of this kind of crap. It's like, hey, fuck that, dudes. You're outnumbered. We can shout louder than you, we just choose not to. We're not strident assholes. But now we're just going to be, in my opinion, resolute and say, nope, not going to listen to your bullshit. We outnumber you. You're wrong. Get the fuck out of here. That kind of thing, right? Doesn't have to be violent or even particularly angry about it, but that is the reality of it, that it's kind of like the dog walking hour in Russia. So the Soviet Union controlled Russia and all of the Eastern Bloc nations. It's way back in the 60s. Long to come to the point of dissolution of the Soviet Empire was brought about by a single good thing they did, a side effect of it, okay? They decided, the Russian Soviets decided they needed to unify the Soviet peoples, all of the Soviet republics. And then they would also add in the Eastern Bloc. They never got that far. So they decided we will have the ultimate propaganda tool, okay? We will have national news. Now, the United States has had national television news since the 50s. Well, the Russians didn't have national television news because they don't have 4 time zones. They've got 12 time zones. So you cannot have news start at over here and in time zone 1 and be received well in time zone 12. So they never had national news broadcast. And then they decided to do it, and they came up with a way that basically meant that if you were in Moscow, you would the national news would start at 9 p.m. local time. And they had it all coordinated, right? But they were going to have a national news broadcast. And what they did was convince all of the Soviet people, all of them, how much they all hated the Soviet government. Because during that national news hour, people were so disgusted by the propaganda, the absolute bullshit that their version of the hollow party was putting out, absolute trash, and everybody knew the communists were lying and it was a bunch of horse shit and so on. They couldn't stand it, so they didn't watch it. Everybody would get up at 9 p.m. at night and go out and walk their dog, or whatever the time the national news came on in their area. And so it became known as the dog walking hour, because it was an hour where everybody would go out and walk their dog, and you'd go out and you'd say, well, wait a second, I'm out here walking my dog because I can't stand listening to those communist fuckheads. What's old George or Sergei doing over there, right? And it's like, well, he's walking his dog too. Maybe he can't stand to listen to these communist fuckers after all. Maybe everybody I see can't stand to listen to these guys. Maybe they are not as numerous as they keep telling me. Maybe I'd better look into this. Shortly thereafter, Soviet Union collapsed. So, you got to watch out for these unintended consequences, especially these guys here, and especially back in this period of time in here. So I suspect, by the way, okay, so now the hyperinflation and the currency and stuff, that's a currency collapse globally. It won't all go away in a day or anything like that, but it'll be horrific in terms of the degradation of the value of the currency. So you need to understand that, and in my opinion, you need to take action ahead of the hyperinflation coming on in. So in other words, a packet of hamburger now at X dollars amount is far better to buy and put away in a freezer if you can than to hold the money of that X dollars, because by the time, a month from now, it might take X.5. It might take another half of that amount to buy that hamburger. We'll get rapid hyperinflation. And then, as a result of that, the hollow party people will implement price controls, and that's a real good temporal marker that we're in the deep shit end of the pool. So once they start talking price controls, then we're really getting close to major political revolt against the local version of the powers that be running the Hollow Party. And about that time, they'll probably come on out with, their fear SARS-3 shit, but it won't fly. We'll have general revolt over the lockdowns. It's going global. So, and that was also engineered by the powers that be with their response to COVID. They've all made us group together and say, fuck this shit, we're getting out of this. So it's going to be an interesting year. I like year woo, I always did. It was going to be, I didn't know I was going to live long enough to see it, to be honest. Actually, I thought I would not. And it's great to see it. It's going to be fantastically exciting and very energizing. And I don't think it'll be particularly disappointing at all. But 5 more days here until we get to the 29th, which is our midpoint. So we'll see how things ramp up and what's going to be going on. All right, so sorry about all of the quality issues on the other one. I've got my setting going, hopefully. I'll check now. And then I'll upload, or not.